Hi there, it's Kathy Higg here at A Diva's Guide to a Magical Urban Vegetable Garden and A Diva's Guide to Homesteading. I have two pages for this just because there's, high interest in both. But my goal here today is obviously there's a lot of panic and worry going on. People worrying about food chains. I don't know that we really need to worry about our food chains. They're pretty strong, especially in Canada and I think through a good portion of first world countries. But it can make us feel better. It certainly always makes me feel better, no matter how well prepared I am, to be able to go out and play in the dirt and get some greens growing, because who knows how expensive they might be in a couple of months, right? I mean, it might be fine. But I also know how easy it is to go back and play in the soil, relieve a little bit of stress. And these vegetables and things that I'm going to show you are super easy growing. You can grow all of these in a few pots on a windowsill, and most of them don't take that long to grow. I mean, there's some of these that you can be eating in 25 days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and have a good supply of greens, especially if you're not feeling well and maybe can't get out of the house, which could be happening with a lot of us here over the next few weeks. So first off, I don't know, I hope you can see here. One of the first things, and it's easy to pick up seeds right now, is radishes. Radishes and the little Japanese turnips, they're very similar to radishes. I often plant them side by side in short rows, maybe just 2 feet at a time in my greenhouse. But hi Jody, how are you? It makes it easy to have continuous plantings. If you have a couple packs of seeds, you can get a lot out of this, and I'll tell you how. And I do this with most of my greens, but especially starting with ones like these. We tend to think of vegetables like this as a one-time harvest, and that's kind of true, but not. I take, the recommended spacing is, I think, a 1/2 inch apart for seeds. I haven't done that in years. I literally take a nice little handful and I sprinkle it really thickly in the short 2-foot row that I do each time. And what happens as they're sprouting up, by week 2, you can be thinning out the extra ones and using them as microgreens. Get a nice handful of microgreens. A week later, you're going to be pulling up a nice little, probably 2-inch greens, and you can use those as stir fries, or maybe in smoothies, or added to some soups or sandwiches. They've got a nice peppery taste. By the time you actually harvest the radishes, when they're 3 weeks, a month, or probably closer to a month, 25 to 35 days, depending on the type, you've had several feedings out of this, and it's a short little 2-foot row. Same thing with these little Japanese turnips. They're so yummy. They have a very similar growing time, so they're nice to grow side by side. And it's also a water saving thing. If you happen to be in an area where there's water saving, you can water one row, have a little trench between, and it's good to go. Some other things that are that like the cool weather of spring, if you have a greenhouse, I've planted some things in my greenhouse already that are already popping up because it's not actually freezing in there at night. They like the warmth of the day, but they also like the cool nights. Things like spinach. Swiss chard. I know we don't think of it so much anymore, but it is super easy, and depending on the type you get, those ones take a little longer, usually anywhere between 35 to 50 days depending on the type, but you can have baby greens from them. Plant a short row, a couple times, every 2 weeks apart. But the thing is that these are vegetables, your spinach and Swiss chard are what's called, as Jody might know, in England, I think they call them cut and come again crops. So what happens is when you need some, you take a handful and just cut it with kitchen scissors, give it a water, and it will grow again and again. A 2 to 3 foot row will give you many, many, many cuttings until it gets too warm in the summer, and then it goes to seed. It's called they don't like heat so much mostly. But for the next few months, especially growing in pots, it's something that's super handy. There's lots of other greens that we don't think about. Lettuces, mesclun mixes that really, really thrive in the cool, damp weather of spring and fall. And they grow quickly. Again, if you're doing the leaf lettuces, your leaf mesclun mixes, they are cut and come again crops. Get one of those nice long rectangular deeper pots for like a windowsill, a nice sunny windowsill that's not too hot, and you can get many cuttings off them. Here's one that a lot of people I think don't know about, especially if you like having broccoli and cauliflower and maybe you can't be going out to buy it. Things like rab, R-A-A-B. It's a type of broccoli. It's a Japanese style of broccoli, or Asian style, and it doesn't grow in big heads like the stuff that we're used to, but it grows kind of into a big plant, and it has many little shoots that will come up, little broccoli like shoots. And if you harvest them every day or every second day, it will continue for a long time. So it's perfect if you're in a smaller space, or you're in an apartment or whatever, right? You can keep these growing for several months and get really good crop, perfect for a couple of people depending on how much you have, and not necessarily have to leave out of the house. Super productive. And there's lots of other Asian types of greens that you can get from most seed houses. Your little mini pak choys, your Thai san mustard greens, all those things that we don't necessarily think about growing, but they're fabulous, for a nice fresh stir fry or to throw a handful in soups. They tend to have a bit of a stronger mustardy flavor, but they are so easy to grow, depending, like I say, on the type. You're usually looking anywhere from 25 to 45, 50 days, depending on what you get. It usually says right on the package. So, but one of the biggest things right now, even if it's really cold, the snow's still melting like it is here, one of the things that you can be planting, if you can get a shovel in the soil and turn it over, snow peas, okay? Thus named because they like that cold, damp soil, and they do really well. And here's another really surprising thing we don't know about snow peas. We're used to the little flat shoots that we see in the grocery store, the little flat pods that are so good for eating fresh or throwing into a stir fry again. But you can actually use the snow pea shoots. And if you Google or look on Pinterest for recipes including snow shoots, you come up with all kinds of things that are super easy. And so it's a really good way to use greens. Again, this is an early spring crop that you can look at and get going right now if you can get a shovel into that soil, or into late fall, and a really good source of greens. Now there's lots of other things too that lots of other early spring greens, I'm sure, but these are the fastest growing ones, and ones that I've gotten into the greenhouse already, and they're already popping up. I keep the seeds inside covered at night, the shoots, with a floating row cover, just in case it gets a little bit too cold at night, because it is still freezing out at night, but a greenhouse helps change that. And of course, if you're planting inside, you don't even have to worry about that at all. Just make sure it's got sunshine and light. And I hope that helps. We're all going to get through this, I think, with helping each other out and, advice and looking out for one another. And with so many people panicking, I think the best thing we can do is just ground, go play in the dirt. And if we look after ourselves, and it makes it a whole lot easier to look out for other people as well. And to be positive and know that this is going to happen. This is going to come to an end eventually. So thanks for watching. Let me know what other questions you might have, about gardening, because, beginner gardening, I think, is probably a really big thing right now. When I was putting together the different courses and ideas and things that I had last fall, I never ever dreamed of something like this happening globally this spring, for when I was actually getting started with my business here. And there's always a way to I don't know, give forward, and I think that all of us, getting back to the land is a big and important thing. Not meaning that we all have to go live out in the bush, of course, but just having some of those skills is super, super important. Anyway, I'm going to go and plant some more stuff, some more seeds here before the sun goes down, because it's just so nice out here. And blessings, love and light, and take care of yourself. Bye for now.